Good evening, Fernwood. My name's Neil, and thank you for joining me on my trip through the entire series of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. That's a soap opera from the 1970s that's surreal and subversive and so fun. Let's do a little bit of catching up before we start the March 16th, 1976 episode. Martha has made up with George over his photos of blackmail that may go into the paper for the union. Speaking of George, he and Tom are not getting along at work, also surrounding information with the union. Kathy has been waiting for Steve to get back to Fernwood for what feels like a week and a half. It's supposed to have been any day now, so hopefully she will see him soon. Loretta and Charlie got news from the person who recorded their demos that there's an opportunity falling into their lap, and that is a fully backed recorded track that might get released. We'll see how that works out. And then Mary and Tom's relationship, which is really central to this show, has been taking a beating. Mary currently believes that her superpower is communication. That's based on advice from Loretta, but, based on my observation, communication as she does it is a mixed bag at best. Meanwhile, Tom is not very comfortable with this exploration. Now, I agree that Mary should have room to explore, but she hasn't really been sensitive to Tom's very fragile masculinity, and that is somewhat of a stressor between the two of them. So they are going to need to work out a lot of things. Of course, their relationship is full of strife with occasional love. Hopefully they'll be able to work it out. I don't expect that that's going to happen today, but let's find out. We don't know what's going to happen because it's about to be the March 16th, 1976 episode. Let us begin.
Just a little loving early in the morning beats a cup of coffee for starting off the day. Just a little. Welcome home again. Mwah. I love you. Did I wake you? Oh, yes, I did. I just couldn't help it. I felt like singing and dancing. I was so afraid that your plane was going to be delayed or you're going to miss your bus connection or something and you wouldn't get here. Did I tell you that I was worried? Well, I was. The night that you were on the Johnny Tilson show. Boy, I wanted to kick in that tube and scratch her eyes out. By the way, what color are her eyes? Who? You know who? That Kate Walters. The flat-chested starlet with the dimples and the straight teeth. The one that was all over you like a cheap suit. Yes, all over you. And she said, Steve and I are going to meet after the show. Oh, publicity? Are you sure? Well, I guess you couldn't come home and kiss me the way you did if it was anything else. Did you see the look on my father's face? Boy, I guess all daddies get jealous. Maybe that's why I was jealous. Maybe I inherited it from him. What do you think? Do you get jealous? You mean to tell me if I was on a big talk show, television show, and flirting with Al Pacino that you wouldn't get jealous? Well, why not, huh? Why not? Well, I'm going to do that. I'm asking too many questions. I guess I still feel funny. Well, when you were gone, I was sure it was over between us and that you wouldn't come home. And if you did come home, you'd probably be all different, conceited and sophisticated. But, you see, I was just being dumb and suspicious. Which is stupid because you're so honest and sincere and wonderful. You know, don't you? No, not me. I made a big fuss about you going to New York. I should have gone. We would have had fun. Then I made a big fuss when you went alone, and I get jealous. Boy, I'm so stupid. I am. No. I guess it's just because I love you too much. And I'm afraid of losing you.
One kiss, one man to say the fair, one love for him alone, one magic night within his arms to tell him, oh, well, Pa.
Did you hear a siren, Martha?
No, I didn't. I will love only one man and no other man in the world. What were you watching on television?
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny who?
You know, Bugs Bunny and Tweety Pie.
But that's for children.
Well, I'm in my second childhood. What do you expect me to watch? There's no game shows on.
Well, what about your walks? You don't seem to take as many walks as you used to.
After I had my name in the paper like that, people stare at me.
Oh, they do not.
Yes, they do.
Oh, Pa, well, you just stare right back at them.
I wish I had a job. But they said on CBS that after 50, it's almost impossible to get a job.
I know what it is. You miss Roberta.
Who?
Wallachak, you know, your social worker. Yeah, you were sweet on her.
Yeah, she did get me out of the house every once in a while.
Hi. Hi, is Mary here?
No. What are you doing home? I mean here?
This isn't his home. He lives next door.
I know, Pa, but I was confused. No, I don't know where Mary is.
Why don't you come in and sit down? Have a cup of coffee. Martha can get you a cup of coffee.
He probably has to get back to the plant, Pa.
Well, no, not exactly.
Oh, well, we're not doing anything or talking about much, but you can do it with us.
Do I should be getting back home only,
Only what?
well, Heather's gonna be home soon.
Well, don't you want to see her?
Well, it's not that, it's just, she may ask why I'm not at work.
How's come you're not at work?
I got sent home.
Oh, Tom.
Sent home.
Yeah, you know, Grandpa. Discipline for breaking the rules.
Oh, what rules did you break?
I was just trying to sell those raffle tickets for Charlie and Loretta, you know, so they could help themselves get out of debt, you know.
But the foreman or somebody told Charlie he couldn't do that. That's what he got arrested for.
I know, that's what they sent me home for, like a kid who was bad in class.
But if you broke the rules...
I didn't break, all right, so I broke the rules, but they're stinking rules, Grandpa, stinking. And those jackasses make you feel like some kid who's wet behind the ears every time you don't knuckle under every stupid stinking rule they come up with.
Oh, poor Tom, getting into all this trouble trying to help Loretta and Charlie, and now they don't need it.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, now that Loretta has a hit record and all, they don't need a raffle.
But, Mom, that was just an idea for the recording, for the record. I mean, they may never see a dime, and if they do see any money, it could be months.
Oh, I thought Loretta was going to be famous.
Well, I hope so, but maybe more for Charlie's sake than for Loretta's, but it's not for sure.
But the way Charlie was talking last night, I thought they were going to be millionaires right away. Now I'm disappointed.
Well, they're going to be all right, believe me. Okay, Mom? Now, look, I got a question to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Have you noticed any big change in Mary lately?
Well, what kind of change?
Well, you know, like her mind wanders.
Yes, I've noticed that. I wonder where. Hello, Grandpa. Nobody's home, so... Hi, Daddy.
Oh, hello, sweetheart. How are you?
What are you doing here? Oh, nothing. He was just having some coffee.
Because he was sent home.
Pa.
Grandpa, it's okay, Mom. It's okay.
You got some left from that?
was just kind of a layoff, you know.
Yes, you know they're making a new model at the plant, and so they chose all their top workers, including your father, and sent them home to get
Hold it, Ma, hold it. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, Heather. I'm not gonna lie. You gotta learn about the world someday, so. I got sent home because I broke the rules.
How? Did you do something bad?
I didn't think so. I thought I was doing something good. I thought I was helping people. But in their book, I was bad, I guess.
When I got sent home from fighting with my friend Trudy on the playground, Mom had to write a note. Somebody have to write a note for you?
No, honey, no. They spared me that. Oh.
Would it help if somebody wrote you a note?
Would it help?
Saying you wouldn't do it again?
No, I don't think so, darling. I don't think so.
Let's go home.
Okay.
Would it help if I wrote a note?
Listen, I just want you to forget it, okay? Just forget it. Have I told you today that I love you? Bye-bye.
Bye, Tom.
You know something, Kathy? We live on different levels.
Mary, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about levels. On your level, everything is fabulous, right?
Well, I never really had time to stop and analyze.
Well, that's because on your level, everything is fabulous and exciting. See, I'm on a different level. Maybe it's a lower level.
Mary, we're sisters. We're equals.
No, what I'm talking about, it's a different emotional level. I mean, on my level, everything is unfabulous. I mean, I have a whole life with nothing fabulous in it. I mean, do you know what I mean?
What day of the week were you born?
Wednesday.
Ah, see, I would have known without even asking.
You would have.
Because it's in a poem.
That I was born on a Wednesday is in a poem?
Yeah, you see, it's in this poem I read. The poem isn't about you.
Kathy, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mary, I'm talking about a poem. You see, Steve told me that there's a lot of truth in poetry, and this poem proves it. Listen, Monday's child is fair of face. You see, that's me, Monday's child. And Tuesday's child is full of grace. Wednesday's child is full of woe. That's you.
So?
You're Wednesday's child.
Oh, that's so sad. Wednesday's child is full of woe. Don't I know? Don't I know?
George, he seems so upset.
I can't sympathize with him, Martha. He brought it on himself.
But all those rules, they're so unreasonable.
Well, that's Tom's problem. He's got a good job, he's got good security, and now he squawks because a rule sounds unreasonable. Well, now, who in the world ever said that rules have to sound reasonable?
Well, to come to think of it, I never thought of that.
He knows that if he lets those demerits pile up, he's going to be sent home.
Well, that sounds more like the Boy Scouts than a grown-up man at work.
And I'll tell you something, he does let those demerits pile up. Well, if he doesn't like his job,
He can go to Russia.
I was going to say, if he doesn't like his job, he can get a job somewhere else where they appreciate him.
Where?
Russia?
But the plant is the only place that they will pay him a weekly salary for doing what he knows how to do.
Well, then he's just going to have to take what they dish out to him. I just hope he doesn't act crazy in front of that union disciplinary committee.
Well, I thought the union was supposed to be on your side.
Well, it is. That's why the disciplinary committee wants to squeeze him back into line with everybody else for his own good.
But if you're unhappy, George, it doesn't do any good to squeeze.
Martha, happiness is found in the home.
Oh, but Mary and Tom aren't happy at home or any place else. They are so restless and dissatisfied.
They bring it all on themselves, and you worrying, that just fans the flame. I just hope that Tom's craziness doesn't make me look bad in front of those big union mucky mucks.
Hello, everybody. Don't stand. It's only me, happy and smiling.
I'm already standing.
Hello, little stranger. You notice I'm not complaining because you didn't come home last night.
Now, don't say anything about me not coming home last night. I've got some great news. I'm going to Hollywood with Steve.
She has a fever. George, does she have a fever?
She doesn't have a fever, but I'm getting a headache.
It's all right, really. We're going to get married there. Oh, I'm so happy I can cry.
But Kathy, I just got used to the engaged part.
Well, Mom, love is fast.
You know something, Kathy? When I was your age, if a girl were fast, her parents would slow her down.
I'm in love, and it's all publicity.
You mean the marriage?
No, going to Hollywood. You see, this big producer saw Steve on the Johnny Tilson show and read some of his poems. So he wants him to come to Hollywood to help with the dialogue and stuff on his film. And his publishers want him to go there to, you know, promote the book. Oh, God, there's so many things happening, I can hardly stand it.
Martha, do we have any aspirin?
Isn't that nice, George?
Daddy, aren't you happy for me? Come on, say something.
I'm getting a headache.
Oh, well, I'll just take that as your way of saying congratulations.
You're angry, aren't you?
Who the hell said I was angry? Who?
I did. Ultimately, sex is communication. Or more intimate than other forms of communication, you understand. But in order to be successful, it has to follow the same rules. There has to be a common language. There has to be the desire to listen as well as to speak. And there has to be the belief that this dialogue has meaning.
What about impotence?
Well, I could answer that in one of several ways. I can say that there are two forms of impotency, primary and secondary. Primary being the situation in which the individual has always had, and secondary is a temporary dysfunction. Or I could put it this way. I could say impotence is the inability to communicate sexually because there's no faith that a common language is shared.
It's fascinating, M.S. Mackenzie, but I'm afraid I don't understand.
What don't you understand?
What you're saying.
Oh, that's because we have a failure to communicate.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be listening in or anything. I just wanted to return these books, and I'd just like to check these books out.
Would you like me to check these books in now?
Oh, no,
for
that's
you?
okay. No, that's okay. You go right on. I can wait.
This is M.S. Mona Mackenzie, and this is Mrs. Mary Hartman.
Mary Hartman.
Mary Hartman.
M.S. Mackenzie is with the Lack of Wonder Institute for proper attention to sexual behavior. We were discussing the possibility of M.S. Mackenzie conducting open seminars here in the library.
I think that's supposed to be Ms. Mackenzie,
Oh, that's nice.
because that
I
pronoun,
also teach
not-
people to communicate sexually.
that label was coming out in the 70s.
Oh. I instruct them in the language of sex. Oh, not simply words you understand, but the language of contact, of erogenous zones, all your little pleasure pores. It's called sensate focusing. The language of true and fulfilling lovemaking.
It's nice. Are those books ready yet?
Not quite.
Mrs. Hartman, do you think you might like that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm really more interested in communication.
Well, actually, I'm a sexual therapist, but I like to think of my work as communication. You'd be surprised how closely communication is linked with sex.
Really?
Oh, yes. At the Institute, our studies indicate that everyone who's into sex isn't into it very well. Problems between sexual
Probably
partners
true.
are quite rampant.
That's interesting. Do you deal with just people like, college professors and lawyers only, or do you ever get a chance to deal with little people too?
I don't understand.
No, it's just that it sounds so upper class.
Oh, that's because some people think of a sex therapist as just one step up from being a hooker.
Do you find it's a big strain for you to talk through your nose like that?
Just a little. Tell me, do you think you might be interested in sex therapy?
Me? Oh, no, I don't think so. I have a friend You know, it might be, though. I mean, she's been terribly unhappy lately. I think what's happened is she lost her sexual through line.
Well, maybe you'd like to give her one of my cards. I work with women as well as with men. Actually, I work with humanity.
That's wonderful.
And in my spare time, I study classical voice for the Metropolitan Opera tryouts.
I beg your pardon?
Oh,
Do you have a card?
oh yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This is for my friend and her husband.
They aren't satisfied.
Oh, no, of course they are. I mean, it's not that they aren't satisfied. It's just that they're looking for, skyrockets and trains.
I beg your pardon?
Well, they're trying for skyrockets and train whistles.
But they just get mashed potatoes, huh?
Right.
I mean, I like mashed potatoes,
You know,
though.
I really think I could help you.
Me?
Your friend. Look, why don't you call and we'll set up an appointment, okay?
Oh, well, I don't know, and I don't know if she'll know either. But, I'll certainly call her and I'll find out. And, I'm sorry, I have to go now. Thank you very much, thank you. And thank you so much, and I will certainly let you know. I'll speak to my friend, and I thank you for my friend, and I thank you for her husband, and I thank you for their children and their pets and, their lawn furniture.
Mary is no master of communication. And this is an issue that has been addressed throughout the series, but, never resolved because they still have that essential problem. Now, I don't know what their love life is like, Tom and Mary's, but, they definitely had the issues in the beginning. And, at least one night of sex during the series that went pretty well. It seems like Mary is being urged toward a path of exploring this line of questioning again, which is, I think, a healthy line, except for the amount of secrecy that she feels the need to cover it with. And that's even secrecy from herself. She doesn't seem to want to admit that she is interested in this material. And that's an issue for Mary, in my opinion. The communication that she has between her and Tom is strained because first, Tom is very uncomfortable with the information. Mary is very uncomfortable with the information. They don't have the vocabulary to address these issues. Or if they've got any vocabulary, they just can't make the words coming out of their mouth without just clamming up or yelling, which are two extremes. So they got to figure out how to sort of calm down the situation, figure out how to de-escalate, understand that their partners have things that they are worried about. And, that's just me from the outside with my very little experience in relationships. But they have to understand that their partners have something going on and figure out how to meet in the middle. That's my assessment of Tom and Mary. So good that we talked a little bit about their relationship before this episode. And, let's take a look at the other characters. It's really George and Martha, they're fine. George and Tom, well, I think it was honorable for Tom to help Charlie out by selling the tickets. And, I didn't see a reason why it's specifically selling the tickets was against the rules. Apparently it's against the rules. Maybe there's a different place to be selling those tickets. And then Steve and Kathy, things seem to be moving full steam ahead. Kathy's actually going to take a trip to Los Angeles or Hollywood for publicity. And we'll see how that goes. So everyone's got kind of an agenda. I think Steve is probably the most level-headed of everyone in the place. Of course, we don't really hear from him, and I mean that not in a literal sense, but, he doesn't really have a point of view. He's really still a plot point for other characters to deal with. But, that's how it goes. Meeting a sex therapist, I thought immediately of Masters and Johnson, who I've read a little bit of their work and watched Masters of Sex because that was fun. And Sense8 Focus is a big part of their therapy. And that's basically just using touch to within the relationship to figure that out. So I don't know that things will be so comfortable with the therapy if they don't talk things out, Tom and Mary. I guess I'm back on Tom and Mary. But hopefully we'll see some movement forward, and if it isn't pleasant, it'll be entertaining. So thank you again for joining me on my trip through Mary Hartman. That was March 16th, 1976, and we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.